All right, let's jump right in. We're going to go on a journey that connects the ancient wonders of the world to the very device you're probably watching this on. It's the story of a powerful, kind of invisible force that dictates how literally everything gets made.
So here's a riddle for you. On the one hand, you have the Great Wall of China, this massive, unbelievable structure built with pure human effort over centuries. On the other hand, you have your smartphone, a little miracle of microtechnology built by web of factories all over the globe. So what on earth could possibly link these two things?
Believe it or not, the answer is operations management. It's really just the art and science of getting stuff done. Whether you're trying to organize thousands of people to build a giant wall or coordinating a complex global supply chain for a phone, the fundamental challenges, planning, organizing, and supervising, they're exactly the same.
And here's the really wild part. Even though people have been doing operations management for thousands of years, the idea of formally studying it, of treating it like a science, well, that's surprisingly new. Let's see just how new it is. Just look at this time gap. It's incredible. We, as a species, were pulling off these insanely complex projects like the pyramids thousands of years ago, but we didn't even have a formal name for this field, operations management, until the 1950s and 60s. That's when academics started to realize, hey, wait a minute, all these different companies and projects are all wrestling with the same basic set of problems.
So what happened in between all that time? What was the big catalyst that forced us to start thinking about production in a completely new, systematic way? Well, it was a revolution, and it was powered by steam.
I'm talking, of course, about the Industrial Revolution. Before this, you have to remember, pretty much everything was made by hand. One skilled person would make one unique thing from start to finish. But then, in the late 1700s, this game-changing idea hits, swapping out human muscle for machine power. And that one simple concept, well, it would change the world forever. And this kicked off an amazing chain reaction, like dominoes falling. It all started with the steam engine back in 1764. That gave us a brand new power source. That power meant machines could do the work of people, but on a massive scale. You put all those machines under one roof, and boom, the factory is born. Then you use that same steam power to run trains and ships, and suddenly you can send all those goods everywhere. A whole new era of making things had just begun. So with factories came a whole new set of headaches, problems with efficiency, with scale, with management. And that challenge sparked an absolute explosion of new ideas all through the 20th century. It was just an intense period of innovation in how we think about work itself. You can see this fascinating evolution in how we thought about it. We started by treating work like it was a machine. Then we had this aha moment and realized people were actually important. Then came the obsession with quality and speed. And finally, we zoomed all the way out to look at the entire system. Let's break down how each of these ideas built on the last one. It all kicked off in the early 1900s with something called scientific management. Now, you can picture this as the age of the guy with the stopwatch, analyzing every single little movement to find the one best way to do any job. It was all about measurement, optimization, and it's what led us straight to the moving assembly line. But as it turns out, treating workers like they're just parts in a machine has its limits. So from the 30s to the 60s, the focus totally shifted. The human relations movement recognized that things like motivation and job satisfaction weren't just nice-to-haves. They were actually critical for productivity. Suddenly, the person doing the work was just as important as the work itself. Okay, fast forward to the 1980s, and a new obsession completely takes over manufacturing: quality. Instead of just checking for mistakes at the end of the line, total quality management, or TQM, was all about preventing defects from ever happening in the first place. The big idea was to build quality into the process right from the very beginning. At the exact same time, another game-changing idea pops up: just-in-time, or JIT. And the goal here was totally radical: to make tons of stuff with almost zero expensive inventory just sitting around. Parts would show up at the factory, you guessed it, just in time to be used. This saved an incredible amount of money and space. And then finally, by the 1990s, our perspective zooms out even further. Supply chain management starts looking way beyond the factory walls. It was about managing the entire flow of everything, from the person digging raw materials out of the ground, all the way through production and to the final customer getting their package. And just as all these ideas were really hitting their stride, a brand new force shows up and changes the game all over again: the internet. You could say the digital age completely rewrote the rules of operations.
And the disruption was incredibly fast. In the 2000s, e-commerce changed how we buy and sell everything. At the same time, technology meant outsourcing went into overdrive, because any job could suddenly be done from anywhere. But the most recent, and honestly the most powerful shift, has been all about data.
Yep, the newest leap forward is big data analytics. Now, the most valuable resource isn't necessarily the machine or the process. It's information. We can analyze these gigantic volumes of data to find insights that were totally invisible before, and we can optimize everything in ways we never, ever thought possible. So what a journey. We've gone from ancient muscle power to the steam-powered machine, and now to the data-driven network. It's been an incredible evolution. But what are the really big lessons we can take away from all this? When you look at the whole story, a few key things really stand out. First, operations management is never static. It is constantly evolving. Second, new technology is almost always the main thing driving that change. And at its heart, it's always been about solving the next big problem. It started with muscle, it moved to machines, and today it runs on data.
And that leaves us with a huge question for the future. We've pretty much tackled the physical, the mechanical, and the information all. So what comes next? What's going to be the engine of the next revolution in how we get things done?